Welcome to TireSoft SQL training, Understanding the User Interface. This video will cover those user interface elements that are common throughout the TireSoft SQL program and is intended to provide a broad overview on how the different screen elements work. Other videos in the training series will provide instructions on specific tasks and functions. Let's get started. The foundation of the program is the application frame, which is shown here. The frame can easily be resized by pulling on any side or any corner. The frame can also be set to full size mode by clicking on the full size icon in the upper right hand corner. Clicking on the icon again reduces back to window mode. The application frame can easily be moved around the window by clicking on the title bar and grabbing it. The application frame has two user interfaces. The first is the main menu. Like Windows, it's a pull-down menu, so clicking on any element would pull down the options. Some options may have multiple options with an arrow. The second user interface element is the toolbar, which in this case contains buttons. These buttons provide shortcuts to other features within the software. TireSoft SQL is a multiple document interface compliant program, which is a very fancy way of saying that the user can have multiple windows open at the same time. The application frame serves as a single container for all windows that are open. This makes the program very efficient to use, as one task does not have to be closed to start another. Any window that's open can be rearranged and moved within inside the frame. The window menu option gives you options to tile all the open windows, cascade the open windows, arrange the icons. You can also select which window is active just by clicking your option. TireSoft SQL uses the browse form paradigm. What that means is that most tasks begin from a browse window which displays the current set of information in a data grid. For example, if vendors need to be added, changed, or deleted, the user could select Maintenance, Accounts Payable, Vendors from the main menu. This would open the vendors browse window, which displays all the currently defined vendors in a data grid. To add a new vendor, the New button would be clicked, opening the vendor form window. Editing a vendor would be done by highlighting the vendor to edit and clicking the Change button. Deleting a vendor would be done the same way, except the Delete button would be clicked. A typical browse window contains four elements: a toolbar with buttons, a data filter control, a data grid, and action buttons. The data grid contains a list of information in a column row format. In this example, it's a list of vendors. The list can be sorted by clicking on any column header. Repeatedly clicking on a column header will toggle between descending and ascending order. Any column can be resized by clicking and dragging the column separator to the desired width. The list can be scrolled vertically by using the up arrow key, the down arrow key, the page up key, the page down key, the home key to move to the first item in the list, the end key to move to the last item in the list, by using the scroll bar on the right side of the data grid, or by using your mouse wheel. The list can be scrolled horizontally by using the scroll bars at the bottom of the data grid. The data grid contains a highlight bar, which denotes the currently selected item in the list. The action buttons and some toolbar buttons perform tasks based on the currently selected item. A browse normally has three action buttons that are associated with a data grid: the New button, which is used to add a new item to the list; the Change button, which is used to change the currently selected item in the list; and the Delete button, which is used to delete the currently selected item in the list. There is an optional fourth button, Select, which is available when the browse is called as a lookup from an input form. Clicking Select will return the currently selected item in the list to the input form that called it. The double mouse click can also be used to change and/or select the currently highlighted item in the grid. If the browse displays a Select action button, then double click will work as Select. Otherwise, it will work as Change. The data filter is used to limit the number of items displayed in the data grid. The filter is applied for whichever column is currently selected for sorting. Clicking a different column header will change which column the filter is applied to. The filter is cumulative. Entering a filter for one column and then entering a filter for another column, both columns work together. For example, entering Bob in the filter for vendor name displays only vendors with Bob in their name. Clicking on the city column and entering Edmond, now the grid is filtered to only display vendors with Bob in their name with the city of Edmond. Clicking the Reset button would clear all filters. Sometimes a simple text string is not enough to filter a column completely. For example, entering Bob in the vendor name filter still returns many items. The percent character can be used as a wildcard to join two text strings together for a more complicated filter. For example, entering Bob percent MO reduces the list down. Entering Bob MODO gets us down to a single record. A typical browse window will contain a toolbar with buttons. These buttons can be divided into two classes: buttons that work on the entire data grid and buttons that work on the currently highlighted item in the data grid. Most browse window toolbars will contain two standard buttons that work on the entire data grid: the Refresh List button, which reloads the current data grid to reflect any changes made by other users, and the Print List button, which is used to print the current data grid displayed. Any other buttons in the toolbar will perform tasks and display information about the currently highlighted item in the data grid. While a browse window is primarily used to display information, a form window is used to input or edit information. A standard form window contains a series of input fields for storing information and two buttons, Save and Cancel. This example is a form to store employee information, and as such contains the typical input fields related to a person. The standard way, the one Bill Gates invented, to move around a form without using the mouse is to use the Tab key to move forward and the Shift Tab key to move backwards. TireSoftSQL has added a few additional ways. You may move to the next field by using the Tab key, the Enter key, or the down arrow key. You can move to the previous field by using the Shift Tab key or the up arrow key. Clicking the Save button will save the information, input, or changes made and close the window. Clicking the Cancel button will close the window without saving or changing any of the information input. Form windows can get very complex depending on the type of information being inputted or edited. For example, this form window for adding or editing customers contains input fields, data grids for managing vehicles and phone numbers, a fixed data grid for computing discounts, and a text field for storing notes. One of the most common types of form windows in TireSoftSQL is the header detail form. Most of the daily tasks, sales invoicing, estimating, work orders, purchases, etc., use this type of form. This purchase illustrates how the form window has two distinct parts: the header, which looks and acts like a form, and the detail, which looks and acts like a browse. In actuality, it is a single piece of information, a purchase, broken into two parts. The last type of window to cover is the Multiple Item Select Browse. On the surface, this looks like a standard browse window with sortable columns and multiple filters. And that is precisely what this window is, with one additional feature: selectable rows. This allows for more than one row to be selected and returned to the calling form. In this case, accounts payable invoices to pay on a check. Once the data grid has been sorted and filtered to display the desired items, any row can be selected, unselected by clicking on the checkbox on the far left side of the row. A range of rows can be selected by clicking on the first row to include, and then doing a shift click on the last row to include. To exclude an individual row from the highlighted range, just do a control click on that row. Once the desired rows are highlighted, the Select button can be used to check all the rows in the range. This can be repeated until all the rows to be selected have been checked. The Process button can be clicked to return the checked rows to the calling window. Thank you for taking the time to view this training video. If you need additional help, please feel free to contact us either by email at support@tiresoft.com or by telephone at our toll-free number 866-222-0579.